It began with what should have been one of the most carefully choreographed evenings on the royal calendar. Diplomats had arrived, guests had taken their places, and palace staff were executing months of preparation with military precision. Then, whispers started spreading through the banquet hall. According to reports, Meghan Markle had taken a seat reserved for Princess Anne. Moments later, King Charles reportedly intervened, and the atmosphere changed instantly. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. State dinners are among the most important events in royal life. Every detail is scrutinized, every guest is carefully selected. Every placement at the table follows a protocol refined over generations. These occasions are not simply social gatherings. They are carefully constructed displays of diplomacy, hierarchy, and national representation. That is why reports emerging from this particular evening immediately attracted attention far beyond Buckingham Palace. According to royal commentators, preparations for the dinner had been underway for months. Foreign dignitaries were expected to attend. Senior members of the royal family had reportedly been assigned specific roles throughout the evening. Palace staff were said to be working under enormous pressure to ensure every element unfolded flawlessly. For most guests, it appeared to be another prestigious occasion, showcasing the stability and traditions of the monarchy. Yet behind the scenes, an unexpected controversy was reportedly beginning to take shape. The first signs of trouble allegedly emerged shortly before dinner commenced. Insiders claimed that questions were being raised regarding one particular seating arrangement. At first, those concerns seemed minor. State dinners occasionally require last-minute adjustments due to diplomatic considerations or logistical issues. However, according to growing speculation, this situation was different. The seat in question was reportedly not just any place at the table. It was one assigned to Princess Anne, one of the most senior and respected working royals in the institution. As whispers spread among aides and officials, uncertainty reportedly began giving way to concern. Commentators later suggested that what appeared to be a simple seating issue quickly evolved into something much larger. Why had the arrangement occurred? Was it an administrative misunderstanding, a protocol oversight, or something else entirely? No clear answers emerged. Instead, every new report seemed to generate even more questions. Attention soon shifted toward King Charles himself. According to various accounts, the king was made aware of the situation before the evening fully unfolded. What happened next became the subject of intense speculation. Some observers described the response as swift. Others suggested it reflected the seriousness with which royal protocol continues to be treated at the highest levels of the institution. Regardless of the precise details, one theme appeared consistently throughout the reporting: the issue was not ignored. What made the story especially fascinating was the contrast between the event's grandeur and the controversy surrounding it. A state dinner designed to celebrate diplomacy was suddenly being discussed for entirely different reasons. Media outlets began examining the implications. Royal commentators debated the significance. Public interest surged. And with every new discussion, it became increasingly clear that the disagreement was no longer about a single moment at a banquet table. Because within royal circles, seats carry meaning. They communicate rank, responsibility, and institutional standing. They reflect traditions that have been preserved for generations. And as observers continued examining the reports emerging from Buckingham Palace, many concluded that the real story had very little to do with furniture or dining arrangements at all. But the controversy was never simply about a chair, it was about what that chair represented within the hierarchy of the monarchy. As royal commentators began examining the incident, attention quickly shifted away from the dinner itself and toward the significance of Princess Anne's assigned position. Within royal protocol, seating arrangements are rarely random. Every placement communicates rank, duty, and institutional importance. What seemed like a minor misunderstanding to some observers soon appeared far more consequential once the symbolism behind the seat became widely understood. The deeper analysts explored the story, the clearer it became that the controversy was not centered on personal preference. It was centered on protocol. Within royal institutions, state dinners function according to carefully established rules that have been refined across generations. Every guest placement serves a purpose. Every seating assignment reflects relationships, responsibilities, and precedents within the hierarchy of the monarchy. To the public, a chair may appear ordinary. Within palace circles, however, a chair can symbolize decades of service, trust, and institutional standing. That reality immediately placed Princess Anne at the center of the discussion. For much of her life, Anne has been regarded as one of the most dedicated working members of the royal family. While others often attract headlines, Anne has built a reputation through consistency, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to duty. Royal commentators were quick to point out that her assigned position at a major state dinner would not have been arbitrary. It would have reflected both her rank and the role she continues to play within the institution. As reports circulated, historians and protocol experts began explaining why state dinner arrangements are treated with such seriousness. These events are more than formal meals. They are carefully structured diplomatic occasions designed to communicate stability and order. Foreign leaders, ambassadors, and dignitaries pay close attention to details that many people overlook. Seating positions can convey respect, recognition, and institutional priorities. That is why even seemingly minor changes often attract intense scrutiny behind palace walls. The symbolism became impossible to ignore. If the reports were accurate, the controversy touched on principles that extend far beyond one evening. It raised questions about hierarchy, representation, and the importance of preserving traditions that help define the monarchy. Some commentators argued that the issue demonstrated how seriously protocol continues to be treated. Others believed the growing attention revealed broader tensions surrounding public perception and royal status. Regardless of the interpretation, interest in the story expanded rapidly. Media coverage intensified as more experts weighed in. Newspapers began publishing detailed explanations of precedents and royal rankings. Television commentators debated the significance of seating arrangements. Social media users examined every available detail. What started as a rumor concerning a state dinner was evolving into a much larger discussion about how royal institutions maintain authority and order through tradition. What made the story especially fascinating was the contrast between public perception and palace reality. To many outside observers, the incident appeared relatively small, yet within royal circles, symbols matter. Traditions matter. Protocol matters. The very existence of the controversy suggested that those principles remain deeply embedded within the institution, even in an era of constant change. As public fascination continued to grow, another question began overshadowing all others. Understanding why the seat mattered was one thing. Understanding what reportedly happened after the confusion was discovered was something else entirely. Because according to palace insiders, the most dramatic developments did not occur when the seating arrangement was noticed. They occurred afterward, when senior figures reportedly began responding to it. Yet the real drama began when palace insiders reportedly described what happened after the seating confusion was discovered. Witnesses described a moment of unusual tension as reports circulated that King Charles personally became involved. While official accounts remained limited, insiders claimed the matter was treated with surprising seriousness. What some initially viewed as a simple mistake reportedly evolved into a protocol dispute involving senior palace officials. Within minutes, discussions behind closed doors were said to have intensified dramatically. By this stage, the story had already spread far beyond the banquet hall itself. What began as whispers about a seating arrangement was now becoming a discussion about royal authority, tradition, and the responsibilities that come with maintaining one of the world's most closely watched institutions. According to royal commentators, the reported involvement of King Charles transformed the situation entirely. A misunderstanding might have attracted brief attention. A matter reportedly requiring the king's personal awareness immediately carried a different level of significance. Reports suggested that senior aides moved quickly once concerns were identified. Protocol teams were allegedly consulted. Seating plans were reportedly reviewed. Conversations that had initially appeared routine suddenly took on greater urgency. While no official account emerged to confirm every detail, palace insiders hinted that the matter was examined with the seriousness typically reserved for issues involving royal precedents and diplomatic protocol. That alone was enough to fuel widespread speculation. For many observers, the most intriguing aspect was not the alleged disagreement itself, but Charles's reported response. Throughout his life, he has been associated with a deep respect for royal tradition and institutional continuity. As monarch, he carries responsibility not only for representing the crown, but also for protecting the customs and structures that define it. Royal analysts therefore argued that any situation touching upon precedents or protocol would naturally attract his attention, particularly during an event involving foreign dignitaries and international scrutiny. As rumors continued circulating, commentators began debating what might have happened behind closed doors. Some suggested the issue was resolved quickly and professionally. Others believed the reported intervention reflected concerns extending beyond the immediate situation. The lack of clear information only intensified public fascination. Every new theory generated further discussion. Every interpretation seemed to create another question waiting to be answered. Attention soon shifted away from the seating arrangement and toward the broader implications of the king's reported involvement. Why was the matter treated with such seriousness? What principles were being protected? And what did the response reveal about the priorities of the modern monarchy? Those questions became the driving force behind much of the coverage that followed. Increasingly, the story was being viewed through the lens of institutional responsibility rather than personal disagreement. The contrast was striking. On one side stood an event intended to showcase diplomatic unity and royal stability. On the other stood a controversy that appeared to highlight the continued importance of hierarchy and protocol within the institution. To many observers, the situation served as a reminder that beneath the public image of modern monarchy remains a framework of traditions that continue to shape every major occasion. Yet despite all the attention surrounding Charles's reported intervention, another mystery remained unresolved. Understanding how the situation was addressed was one thing. Understanding how it had developed in the first place was something else entirely. As commentators continued examining the story, many concluded that the most important questions had still not been answered. Who approved the arrangement? Why was it allowed to progress so far? And what had happened behind the scenes before the controversy ever reached the king's attention? But Charles's reported intervention only deepened questions about how the situation had arisen in the first place. Although much of the attention focused on Charles and Meghan, Princess Anne remained the central figure in the unfolding controversy. For decades, Anne has been viewed as one of the monarchy's most disciplined and respected working royals. To many observers, the issue was not personal, it was institutional. The debate increasingly centered on what Anne's position represented within the broader structure of royal duty. As the story continued dominating headlines, a remarkable shift began taking place. Discussions that initially revolved around protocol and seating arrangements gradually evolved into something much deeper. More and more commentators found themselves talking about Princess Anne herself, not because she had sought attention, but because her long record of service made her impossible to ignore. In many ways, Anne's reputation became the lens through which the entire controversy was being interpreted. For decades, Anne has occupied a unique position within the royal family. While other royals often attract greater media attention, Anne has built her standing through consistency, discipline, and an extraordinary commitment to public duty. Year after year, engagement after engagement, she has maintained a reputation for reliability that few public figures can match. That reputation has earned her admiration not only from royal supporters, but also from many people who rarely follow royal affairs at all. That is why so many observers argued that the issue extended beyond a single dinner or a single evening. To them, the assigned seat symbolized recognition of Anne's contribution to the institution. It represented years of work carried out largely without complaint or controversy. In that context, the debate became less about individuals and more about the principles that underpin royal hierarchy. Respect, duty, and service suddenly became recurring themes throughout the discussion. Royal historians quickly pointed out that similar controversies have emerged throughout history whenever protocol and public perception collide. Yet many noted that Anne's situation felt distinctive because of the respect she commands across so many different parts of society. Unlike disputes driven primarily by personality or popularity, this controversy appeared rooted in questions of institutional recognition. What obligations does the monarchy have toward those who dedicate their lives to service? How should those contributions be reflected within royal events? Those questions became increasingly central to the narrative. Public reaction reinforced that trend. Across Britain, discussions frequently returned to Anne's record rather than the controversy itself. Commentators highlighted her work ethic. Supporters praised her loyalty to the crown. Even international media outlets began publishing profiles examining why Anne continues to command such admiration after decades of public life. What started as a state dinner dispute was now generating renewed appreciation for one of the monarchy's most enduring figures. The growing international attention only amplified the story further. Foreign observers who may not have followed the intricacies of British royal life suddenly found themselves learning about Anne's role within the institution. Many came away with the same conclusion repeatedly voiced by commentators at home, regardless of how the controversy began. It had evolved into a broader conversation about respect and recognition. Yet perhaps the most fascinating development was still to come. Because while Anne remained the symbolic center of the controversy, reactions to the reported incident were beginning to spread far beyond the immediate participants. Different factions within royal circles were reportedly interpreting the situation in very different ways, and as those competing perspectives emerged, the story was about to enter an entirely new phase. Yet, while Anne remained at the center of the controversy, reactions to the reported incident soon spread throughout royal circles. As reports of the halted dinner circulated, royal commentators offered dramatically different interpretations of the event. Some believed it reflected a misunderstanding. Others argued it highlighted deeper tensions surrounding protocol, status, and royal expectations. Whatever the explanation, one reality became impossible to ignore: the story had expanded far beyond the walls of Buckingham Palace. The controversy quickly evolved into something much larger than a discussion about a state dinner. Across Britain and beyond, commentators began debating what the reported incident truly represented. Some observers viewed it as an unfortunate misunderstanding that had been magnified by intense public scrutiny. Others believed it exposed a deeper struggle between modern expectations and centuries-old traditions. The absence of clear answers only fueled greater fascination, allowing competing narratives to flourish simultaneously. As public interest intensified, palace insiders reportedly offered differing interpretations of events. Some suggested the issue had always been about protocol and nothing more. Others hinted that broader questions surrounding status, responsibility, and institutional order may have influenced how the situation was handled. Those conflicting accounts ensured that speculation continued to dominate headlines. Every theory seemed to generate another debate, and every debate seemed to reveal just how divided opinions had become. Royal institutions rarely communicate through direct confrontation. Instead, they rely on symbols, traditions, and carefully maintained protocol. That is why many observers viewed the reported incident as especially significant. To some, Charles's reported response represented a defense of royal order. To others, it highlighted the delicate balance every monarch must maintain between personal relationships and institutional responsibility. The controversy became a case study in how symbolic decisions can carry consequences far beyond the immediate moment. Historians and royal experts soon pointed to similar disputes from earlier generations. Again and again, they noted that the most memorable controversies were rarely about the surface issue itself. They were about the principles hidden beneath it. Questions of precedence, hierarchy, and respect have shaped royal institutions for centuries. That historical context helped explain why a single seating dispute had attracted such extraordinary attention. The story touched upon themes that remain central to the monarchy's identity even today. What made the debate especially compelling was the contrast between tradition and change. Modern audiences often expect flexibility, while royal institutions rely heavily on continuity. Navigating those competing pressures has become one of the defining challenges facing the monarchy. Many commentators argued that the reported incident illustrated precisely that tension. It revealed how even seemingly small decisions can become symbols of much larger institutional debates. As media coverage expanded internationally, the conversation shifted away from personalities and toward broader questions about the future. What role should tradition play in a modern monarchy? How should protocol be enforced? And what responsibilities does a monarch have when balancing personal relationships against institutional expectations? Those questions increasingly dominated public discussion. And as speculation continued to build, another fascinating question began dominating the conversation. If this controversy generated such intense debate over a single moment, what did it reveal about the monarchy's future direction? Because perhaps the most revealing aspect of the entire controversy was not what happened at the dinner itself, but what the reaction seemed to say about an institution still struggling to balance tradition, symbolism, and change in the 21st century. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of the entire controversy was what it appeared to say about the future of the monarchy. For years, discussions about the monarchy's future have centered on how tradition can survive in a rapidly changing world. The reported state dinner controversy seemed to bring that debate into sharp focus. Questions surrounding rank, responsibility, and respect suddenly dominated public discussion. What began as a seating dispute had evolved into a larger conversation about duty itself. As the controversy continued unfolding, many observers realized that the incident had become about far more than a single evening at Buckingham Palace. Beneath the headlines and speculation lay a deeper question that has followed the monarchy for decades. How can an institution built on centuries of tradition adapt to modern expectations without losing the principles that define it? The reported dispute seemed to place that question directly at the center of public discussion. Royal commentators noted that protocol is often misunderstood by those outside palace circles. To some, rules surrounding rank and precedence appear outdated. To others, they remain essential foundations that help preserve stability and order within an institution that represents continuity across generations. The reaction to the state dinner demonstrated just how strongly people feel about those competing perspectives. What one person viewed as a minor misunderstanding, another viewed as a test of values that continue to shape the monarchy's identity. Long after the reports emerged and the headlines faded, one idea continued resonating throughout royal circles. A single seating arrangement had unexpectedly become a discussion about hierarchy, responsibility, and the enduring power of royal tradition. Whether viewed as a protocol dispute, a misunderstanding, or something more significant, the episode appeared to reveal how seriously the monarchy still treats the symbols that define it. For many observers, the lasting significance of the story centered on King Charles' role as sovereign. Monarchs are often judged not only by the decisions they make, but by the principles those decisions appear to protect. At the same time, the controversy reinforced Princess Anne's standing as one of the institution's most respected figures, a royal whose decades of dedication continue to command admiration both at home and abroad. Public reaction reflected that reality, with discussions frequently returning to themes of service, duty, and institutional respect. In the end, the reported incident became a reflection of the challenges facing the modern monarchy itself. Tradition and change remain locked in a delicate balance. Every public event, Every symbol and every act of protocol contributes to that ongoing story. And in this case, a single moment at a state dinner unexpectedly sparked a wider conversation about the values the monarchy hopes to preserve as it moves into the future. And in the end, the incident appeared to leave behind a message far greater than the disagreement that sparked it. Because while state dinners eventually end and guests return home, this moment seemed to tell a much larger story about duty, tradition, and the institution determined to preserve both. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.